It's going to be doing something slightly different today. I'm going to be doing one of my deconstruction reconstruction pieces. It's a technique that I've developed over time because I like to tell a story. I don't want to have all my paintings obvious in the first go, so I quite like these because they're difficult to see the whole thing in one go. So I first got inspiration. I was watching a friend of mine doing a collage years and years and years ago, and she was tearing up some old paintings and using just the patches of colour to make a collage and throwing away all the bits that had any interest in them. And for me, they were the really exciting bits, were the bits that had something on. So I kind of came away and I thought, well, rather than just using colour and using old paintings for colour for collage, how could I use the actual interesting bits? So I started going through my drawers of old paintings. Have you all got a drawer of old paintings? I think we've all got at least one drawer. I think I've got 2 plan chests of old paintings. And I started going through some of the old ones and thinking, well, why have I put this in the drawer rather than framed it? And there's usually a reason. It might be a painting that you were really happy with up until a point, and then you did something and it went a bit not quite so sure, or you liked how you painted bits of it but your composition was a bit haywire. So there's always a reason why you put them to one side and don't finish them. It might simply be that you haven't finished them. It might be that you just ran out of time that day, or circumstances stopped you finishing the painting. So all of these paintings you've got in your drawer you can use. So this is the technique that I've developed. Right. Now I just want to start off by showing you some of the sets of paintings that I might use. So it could be, here this is a series of paintings, let's turn it the right way, series of paintings that I've done of parts of Southwold. They might have been done in classes, they might have been done as a live. Get it the right way up to me. That's Cove Hythe Church. So they're all around that area. So it could be that it tells the story of a place. So we've got those as one set of ideas. I've been running painting holidays in Menorca for many years now. So I've got lots of paintings that might actually be of the same view. So it might be this one. I really like the detail down here, but I think that's really boring. So this is a prime candidate for taking a section out and using it. This one, I've painted this view so many times. I've got literally dozens of paintings of it. So this one is one, again, is a prime candidate for tearing up. See, look, there's another one there straight away. And just little sketches that you've done that, nothing wrong with them, but you just think, well, am I going to pop that in a frame? So those are stories of places, but they could also be tales. Now I've pulled out a selection of paintings here. So I've got a musician here. I've pulled out this. Now this is an exercise that I do quite frequently, which is just instead of trying to paint a portrait of somebody, just try and paint parts of the face. So if I put that up there, it's sometimes easier to try and get used to painting things if you just do them in sections, rather than trying to have the whole thing work. So I've got sheets of these where I've done them in classes and workshops, and they're quite useful to put into a deconstruction piece as well. I've got things like this one, which is, getting ready for a night out. So I think I'm probably going to be using this one today. Then we have some Flamenco Dancers. Again, I've painted this several times, so I've got multiple copies of this. And then I've got this one that I've pulled out, which is glass of wine, wine glass, cheese and tomatoes. So other than the fact that my flamenco suggests Spanish and my cheese looks a bit French, so we might have to work with that, it's a night out. So that's how I see it. So I think I'm going to end up using this one, and this one. Now colour-wise they work together. they tell a story to me, so that's kind of where I'm at, looking through what I'm going to do. Tear those up in a minute, but what we end up needing to have is we need to have about that much on the page. So this is one where I've already torn them up, I've already placed them out, but I need to put them back together again. So that's where I'm aiming for how many pieces I need to get. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? Are you sure? I love it when you get a bit like this. So we've got our evening out. Let's just take a line down the middle of that one. So that's a good bit. I like doing this where I'm not looking at what I'm doing, because it makes more random, just dropped everything on the floor, it makes a more random selection. And you end up with bits like that, which I think is a lovely little piece to add in. I don't need all of this down here, so we'll just take that off there. There are bits that you end up with that you can't really see which way up it is or what it is, so I tend to discard those. I've got another little piece there. I'm not necessarily going to use all of these. That's a nice piece there. I'm not necessarily going to use all of these today, but just taking it down in size. So there we go. So that's that in pieces. Okay. And then I'm just having a look. Oh, lots of comments. There we go. Sorry, I didn't see all your comments coming in. Hello to all. Can you mix different mediums? I'm seeing a question. I've done this with acrylics. I've done it with watercolours. I've not tried mixing watercolours and acrylics when I do it. Why not? Absolutely, why not? So, so I'm going to take my dancers now. Are we ready? So there we go. So we end up, look, we've got this lovely piece at the top here. I'm not all that keen on the crisp edges, so I like a torn edge. So I'm gathering my dancers, and there's different things you can do. You can see here I've not got the white on the torn edge. If I tear across here, one of these pieces is going to have the white edge to it and one of them's not. It's not a right or a wrong, but it's just something to be aware of, that you can choose or not, as the case may be. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? Are you sure? I love it when you get a bit like this. So we've got our evening out. Let's just take a line down the middle of that one. So that's a good bit. I like doing this where I'm not looking at what I'm doing, because it makes more random, just dropped everything on the floor, it makes a more random selection. And you end up with bits like that, which I think is a lovely little piece to add in. I don't need all of this down here, so we'll just take that off there. There are bits that you end up with that you can't really see which way up it is or what it is, so I tend to discard those. I've got another little piece there. I'm not necessarily going to use all of these. That's a nice piece there. I'm not necessarily going to use all of these today, but just taking it down in size. So there we go. So that's that in pieces. Okay. And then I'm just having a look. Oh, lots of comments. There we go. Sorry, I didn't see all your comments coming in. Hello to all. Can you mix different mediums? I'm seeing a question. I've done this with acrylics. I've done it with watercolours. I've not tried mixing watercolours and acrylics when I do it. Why not? Absolutely, why not? So, so I'm going to take my dancers now. Are we ready? There we go. So we end up, look, we've got this lovely piece at the top here. I'm not all that keen on the crisp edges, so I like a torn edge. So I'm gathering my dancers, and there's different things you can do. You can see here I've not got the white on the torn edge. If I tear across here, okay, one of these pieces is going to have the white edge to it, and one of them's not. It's not a right or a wrong, but it's just something to be aware of, that you can choose or not, as the case may be. Got a little arm there. I quite like this girl here, but she's got too many limbs, so we need to take a bit of something off there. So we've got that piece there. Moving those to the side. So we've got this piece left. So you still have your flamencos. You were with me when we did this workshop. It was a good fun one to do, actually. But I've got several versions of it, so we're all right. So there we go. Okay, so now I have a dancer's torso, a couple of heads, half a head and an arm. Hi Ali, Ali's just joined us. Another torso there, a bit more, and one more dancer. I know I won't be using all of these in one painting. This is going to be in several paintings, so it's got all of those bits there. So now I have the rest of the party. So we've got getting ready for the party with the nail varnish. We've got the dancers. This is what you're going to have during the evening. So here we go. Now, if you're working on this flat, you don't need to use blue tack. You can just lay them down, but because they would all fall on the floor, I'm going to use blue tack just to pop these up. So I start off with just a few random bits, and then I'll show you how I put them together. Let's just move that a little bit. I hope you can see that okay. Somebody's put a question up, can you use the neutral book? Yeah, of course you can. I'm just leaving gaps, so I want the bits that I'm putting on to have something happening already. Right, I'm starting to make connections, and I'll explain what I do with that in a minute. First few bits you just have to randomly put up. Right. Let's have another bit of nail varnish going on here, and then that's got to move. I can't have these two pieces of wine bottle together, so see, this is all a bit, this is the hard bit. This is the really hard bit, is the deciding where things go. Right. So we've got that there. See how I can connect that, a bit of a label coming across to the dress. The wine glass, I can see a link here. You don't have to have them all linked up, but you know, so there'll be places where there's no link. Right, I want this bottle to come down a bit. And then, okay, so I've got, I would say, about half my piece of paper covered. Right, I'm just going to turn you back so I can have a quick look through some questions. 2 heads onto one torso. Yeah, we can have 2 heads on one torso. The more you do, the more you'll let go, Ali. Absolutely, of course you do. Right, so my next stage, there we go. would actually be to stick all of this down. But I made the decision this morning that you watching me gluing pieces of paper and sticking them down really wouldn't be all that interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I draw them back together. I'm going to stick them down with Pritt stick. You can use PVA, but I did a bit of research because I do this as a demo in art societies quite often, and PVA wouldn't work because everything would just slowly slide down the picture during the demonstration. So I will use a Pritt stick, but I did look it up. It's archival, it's acid free, it's absolutely fine. So that's what I use in the end to stick them on. So I'm just going to turn you back and show you how I draw it back together again with my bit of pencil. So, okay. So this bit is just trying to work out how I can connect things. So here I've got this elbow connects into that piece of cheese. Obviously elbows connect to cheese. Right, this label is going to come around here. So I'm just extending what I have already. So I'm going to bring that label down onto there, and I will paint over some of the pieces of paper that I've got. I'm just going to use a bit more blue tack because it's easier to do this when it's flat and they're not moving. So let's just put that in here. So I've got my table edge there, but I'll take that to the edge there. We've got this lovely flamenco dress that I'm going to draw in up there. Now we have to put in a head because she can't really, it's very difficult to have headless dancers. So I've put her back in there. We've got her dress here. So now this dress I'm going to have extend out to that edge of the cheese. So we're going to have this fabulous flamenco dancer. She's got a friend. So you end up doubling up on things. I've got paintings of St Paul's where I've got 3 domes in the painting from a painting of St Paul's. So she's got a taller friend here. So again, I'm going to put a head in on the edge there. Okay, so this hand needs to come up and will come behind that flamenco dress that I'm going to have there, which is going to come up here too. See, now here is a little bit of tomato, but that's going to become the bottom of the dress here. So you can see how you can link things up. You're just looking, that's what I'm looking for, is all of these little connections. Right, I think that's probably more or less all I want to draw in. Let's put the start of a label in down there. Yeah, I'm going to get going. Now there is one thing I'm going to show you. I promised to show you this. This is one that I did in acrylic. So seascape in acrylic, and you can just about, if I tilt it, you can just about see the sections of the original canvas. So those were the original pieces, and I've just painted everything back together again. So it can be done with acrylic and canvas, and I just tore them up. And that was a satisfying day, just getting canvas and just ripping. So that was good fun. Excited and scared to rip up paintings. Just do it, it doesn't matter. Right, I'm going to turn you around so you can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to crack on. Excited and a bit scared. Sorry, it's hard for me to see the messages from here on in, but I'll keep dipping my head around the corner every now and then and have a look. Okay, I'm on watercolours here, so I just want to show you my watercolour palette, which will strike horror into some people's brains, but for me this is perfect. I know where all my colours are. My favourite colour is muck off the palette. There's always a little bit stuck in the corner that's just the bit of shadow that you need. So that's my palette. There is no right and wrong way to using a palette. You just use it how it suits you. Now I'm going to start here by putting some of the flesh tones down on my ladies. And the colour I basically use for that, I'm going to use a combo of 2 colours. I'm going to use Opera Rose, which is this really vibrant pink, and some yellow ochre. And I've just put those together, and they give you these wonderful soft, warm skin tones. So I'm starting off, I'm just going to go around the painting and, and just put some skin tones in. Soften that down. And I'll come back and put features into these later, a little bit, but not a lot. So I'm just going to give them a general wash, and I'm going over some of the areas I've already done because that brings everything together. And I'm also going to use a little bit of a shadow colour, which is just like a purple. And just start to get some shadows going in here. So I'm going to jump around the picture, just putting this flesh tone in. Oh, she's got a bit of a suntan, hasn't she? A bit more of the yellow ochre there. Got a bit of the flesh tone going on here on the hand. Okay, I'll have a little look in a minute and see what questions we've got. But I know that very capable Ali is there to help out if needs be. Again, just a little bit of shadow just to start building shape. This one is tricky because she's right on the edge of a piece of paper. She needs some more hair on the other side of her head. Okay, so we've got the girls down. So again, I'm just going to allow that to dry and come back in and put some more detail into it later. Or should we get stuck in with the really exciting bit? Shall we do the dresses? Now, when it comes to putting down something like red, in order to make red bright, you need a variety of reds in there. So I'm going to be using, I'm going to use my lemon yellow. This is the SAA's Poppy Red. I'm using my permanent rose, and then I shall use some shadow colours in there as well, some of the ultramarine in there for my shadow colours. So I'm starting off by mixing my Poppy Red with the lemon yellow. It's quite an orangey colour. Where should we go? Let's start up here. So I start off with this orange colour. Let's put a little bit of that up into her sleeves. Then I'm going to pick up a bit more of that Poppy Red and mix that in. So this is going to start to do my shaping. Just pulling that gradually through. And then I'm going to put some of my rose and my ultramarine in there. Seem to have picked up a little bit of brown as well, but never mind. So then we can start putting some more shaping into that red. Okay, let's have this young lady over here. Now she's the one that's got the tomato behind her shoulder. So I think I'm gonna, let's just start as we mean to go on. Again, just building on my depth of colours. You can only see a bit of her there. So again, this just allows us to have a bit of difference. So we've got her dress is going to come down behind this girl. So if I make her more of those purpley colours, it makes her a little different. And we can bring that all the way down. And let's just make a nice deep colour here to go behind the bottle and behind the skirt down here. In fact, I'm going to come on to this piece and just join that in. So there are places like here where I've joined it together. So this piece that's on the new piece of paper is I've joined it into here. But then you've got areas like this where I'm keeping them separate, and I quite like a mixture of those two things. I think she needs to have, I think I need to be a little bit darker coming out of here. It's a nice turquoisey colour. So now we're starting to get an area here that's more filled in. So although I only put stuff down on about half, it's now beginning to come back together. So there we go. So we've got, I haven't missed any of the girls, have I? So we've got the girls in. So now we just need to jump around, and the beauty of this is that you can just, you know, where you've got a dry patch, or whilst I've got my flesh colour, let's just paint these fingers in up here, and I'll come and put detail into them later. Okay. Now I do want to add a bit more shadow into the hand here. I think this bit could do with being a little darker. But I also seem to have some attempt at writing going on. So let's bring some of that down. The writing I already had there seems to be yellow, so I'm not going to write, I'm just going to suggest at marks. And then we need some dark. Right, that's got to go in behind the cheese and behind our dancer. So again, just bringing it up onto the piece of paper that I stuck down. So let's make up some red wine colour. So I'm going to use my rose and some ultramarine, but more rose than anything. Let's bring this colour in here. And I'm not taking it to the edge of the glass because you've got the thickness of the glass itself. And then I'm just going to use some water to pull that in, so we should hopefully get a few lights and darks within there. And then on the other side, again, I'm going to bring it across and then wash my brush out. And that's all I'm going to put there because I've got the reflection onto the top of the wine. So I want to keep that and have a darker line down one edge and down the other edge. And that one's more hinted at than actually there. Now the beauty of this is all this detail work in the bottle top, I've done it already, so I don't need to do any more. So we've got this bottle here just to finish off, and then I'm going to put a few details on the faces and then maybe a little ink, and then I need to sit back and think about it. So again, like we did before, just dragging that through, making sure I leave some light hitting the bottle. some of those ochres coming in there as well. And a bit of dark. We had a purpley label before, didn't we? So let's just have a bluey one this time. Again, it's right on the edge, so I don't want to make too much of it, so just a little bit of that. Okay, two little things to do is a little bit of shading on their faces, and then I'm going to come in with a pen and just squiggle a bit. So I'm making up a shadow colour, and I've picked up turquoise in it, which I didn't want. There we go. So just putting a little bit of shadow colour. So again, just coming back. So I mixed up the same colour I had before, but I added a little bit of my blue-brown mix. Again, I'm not doing a great deal. I'm just putting a couple of little shadows in there, and that's all. And a few darker shadows onto the hair. We need a little bit of a parting. And you can have some red in your hair. Yeah, you two girls can. There we go. Now I've got this Feud pen. If you've not seen a Feud pen, it's got this sort of bent nib on it. So when I scribble with it like this, I get this nice thick mark. But when I use the nib the other way around, you can see I get this really, really fine mark. It's F-U-D-E, this nib, and it's just bent up at the tip. So I just want to come in with this. I don't always do this, but I know this was on some of that original drawing, the original painting of the dancers. So I just want to include a little bit of that in there. So I'm putting that in, and I'm also going to just add some water to soften it through. Again, this is just bringing the original piece of drawing, of painting together with what I've just done, just by adding a little bit of that in. And I only think I want to put the pen on the dancers. I don't really want to do it elsewhere. So I think I'm probably about where I want to be with that. So again, let me just bring it in for you to have a look, and then I shall have a chat. So you can see all the way across there, and I'll put a picture up afterwards. If it gives you nothing else, it gives you an insight into my brain. So let me turn around and have a look. There we go. Well, that's how I do my deconstruction, reconstruction story painting. So for me, that is the story of what looks like a great night out. What happens in there? My brain is all over the place and mixing things up, and I have great fun doing it. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I think we've got a video clip tomorrow. So I've got to go and get working, really, haven't I, and get sorted, so you can see that. But thank you so much for joining me, and thank you Ali, and all the rest of the Artist Demo Days team. So, mwah, and I will see you soon. Thank you.